in the day and age of the transfer portal, with so many players changing teams, so many big-time players changing teams, and it feels like mobility has never been higher in the world of college football, and that's 100% the case. The question has started to arise from some of the more jaded fans in college football. Hey, does National Signing Day still matter? JD, I appreciate the rankings. I appreciate seeing who's a 5-star, who's a 4-star, but at the end of the day here, there's a good chance that my prized prospect from our top 10 class may not be there next year. And so honestly, do I really want to get my hopes up? Do I want to invest myself emotionally into National Signing Day, knowing full well now that that class may not fall apart, but look very different in terms of who's still on campus a year later, 2 years later, when all the dust settles on this thing? And I totally understand where you're coming from. Let me be the first to say that. I am validating what you are saying. I understand the hesitation to become attached to a class when everyone can leave at the drop of a hat. Pete Nakos has a phenomenal article out right now on on3.com talking about how it's so difficult to retain top quarterbacks today in college football. Obviously, only one of those guys gets to be on the field at a time, but he put out a stat from the 2021 to 2023 recruiting classes. So that's 3 classes there. Of all of those top 10 quarterbacks from each class, so 30 quarterbacks total, 18, more than half of those quarterbacks hit the portal. That's just the quarterback position. Not even talking about the rest of your roster and what that could look like. So what you're saying is totally fair. But my answer to that, when you say, does National Signing Day still matter? I would say absolutely. Absolutely, it still matters. And let me put it to you this way. If we're going to be super pessimistic and say 25% of your signing class will hit the portal at some point in time, 25%, I mean, 1/4, that's a pretty good amount, right? That's probably the worst case scenario. Well, doesn't that make it even more important for the 75% of your class that remains to be rock solid? Doesn't it make it more important for you to stack solid classes together? Look at what happened in the college football playoff this past year. Remember, modern college football now, everyone's changing teams. The team that won the national title, first off, didn't have a top 10 portal class. They made some big acquisitions via the portal, but it was all about adding a Will Howard into an already really solid roster, adding a Caleb Downs into a really elite defense. Now, they recruited at a high level. That's why they had the roster they had to add in a Will Howard, to have a Caleb Downs make the difference that he made. Look at it from a big picture perspective. Stats by Cato here. Of this past college football playoff field, the 12 teams, 4 of those teams recruited in the top 10 in the 2021 cycle. 7 of those teams in total recruited in the top 20. 2022, you had 8 teams recruited in the top 20, 5 of those teams in the top 10. Their 2023 cycle, 5 in the top 10, 8 in the top 20. So translation, the teams that made the college football playoff, those rosters, did they have some key portal pieces? Did some of those teams have good portal classes? Absolutely. But for the most part, the core pieces of those rosters, the recipes, the makings of those rosters were added via the recruiting apparatus of the high school level. So you got to have the portal. It definitely has to be a part of your roster composition these days. But to say that National Signing Day just doesn't matter anymore, that to me is very, very far from the truth. To put it this way, if you're going to say National Signing Day doesn't matter, I would ask you the question then, okay, what does matter? I'm assuming your answer is the transfer portal. That's all that matters. The transfer portal is great, but we've seen teams go very heavy in the portal and have it kind of come back to bite them. Look at Florida State, a great example. They survived through the portal in a lot of ways. They made their living through the portal during that season where they won the ACC. But then this past season, what happens? Kind of falls apart. A couple of missed evaluations. A couple of pieces don't really fit how you thought they would. Who's to say what the chemistry looked like internally? I don't know. I'm just assuming. Didn't yield great results. If you live by the portal, you also die by the portal. It's a very risky game to run. To me, it's a lot like groceries versus eating out. You can eat out for every meal, but at some point in time, it's going to start costing you. It's not the most sustainable model in the world. You'd much rather be able to say, okay, we're going to eat out on special occasions, anniversary's tomorrow, by the way, anniversary meal or birthday or whatever special occasions, great, let's go eat out. But for the most part, it's more sustainable to say we're going to go to the grocery store, get the right nutrition for us, put it in the fridge, put it in the pantry, and when it's the proper time now, we'll draw upon those different things that we got at the high school level at the grocery store and develop that and cook that up the right way, and then we'll have success. So ultimately, I'm here telling you, National Signing Day, even with player mobility being at an all-time high, even with the likelihood that your class will guys leave from whoever signs, yeah, absolutely. That's the day and age we're living in now. But National Signing Day is still, I believe, the bread and butter of what college football is. You make your meal through the high school level. You win national titles through the high school level. That's how you make your meal. Now, you can add some sauce to it via the portal. That obviously is going to improve things. It's going to help things. But if all you have is sauce, guess what you have? You have soup. And a soup, that'd be pretty disgusting if it's only sauce. That's my humble opinion. Now, has the portal become more important? Again, absolutely it has. 110%. Of the college football playoff field from this past cycle, half the field had a transfer quarterback. 3 of those teams had a top 10 portal class going into the season, and you sprinkle on top of that Notre Dame was in the top 15 in their portal class in terms of what they did this past season and how it impacted it. So it's all about, again, having a roster of solid talent to add portal pieces to. If you want to eat out every meal, be my guest, but it's not going to be the most sustainable way to go about your business for years to come. So National Signing Day still matters, still important, still a celebration. We enjoy it. We appreciate it. We're here for it. And I'm very, very excited to see what the next class looks like here as we turn the page on 2025 and move on to the 2026 class. Time is just flying by, man. Absolutely flying by.